Donald Trump is going to be sentenced by corrupt Juan on January 10th. Welcome to Doug in Exile.
All right, breaking right now, the judge rejecting President-elect Trump's bid to throw out his criminal conviction in New York because of his election win and ordering to show up for a sentencing a week from today, either in person or virtually.
That's have breaking news, everyone, as Judge Juan just ordered Donald Trump to appear for sentencing on January 10th. He can do it either in person or virtually.
Judge Juan signaled his inclination to not impose a sentence or incarceration. He said, look, he said, you're going to receive some kind of a unconditional discharge, meaning you're not going to be thrown in jail. No fines, likely, but he still wants to really hold on to his win.
You understand there's absolutely no reason that Judge Merchan should have even had a chance to be assigned to this case? Now, I'm sure the left is just going to call this a conspiracy theory, so I'll issue a challenge to them and maybe they can tell me how he managed to be the judge. Because for these type of cases, the way it's supposed to work is that there is a panel of 24 judges, and they are all put in rotation and randomly assigned these types of cases. Judge Merchan is not on that panel. That's because he's not a judge, he's an acting judge. So even though they're trying to claim that they didn't pick the judge, that it was randomly assigned, that's not possible because Judge Merchan isn't in the pool to be randomly assigned.
But it's Alvin Bragg who watched his plans to put Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit go down the drain, like his career.
It's all according to Reuters. Prosecutors had suggested putting the case on hold until Trump leaves office, but now he's facing sentencing before Inauguration Day.
January 10, that is 1 week from today. It is 10 days prior to inauguration. But give me a sense of what Judge Juan Merchan here in New York has suggested will happen on January 10.
Sentencing before inauguration?
Oh, yeah. Trump's lawyers, they argued that ongoing legal proceedings would disrupt his ability to govern, especially given his status as the president-elect. They suggested that his case should be dismissed to prevent interference, claiming immunity.
I think there's going to be some other alternative the judge is going to find, because I know he thinks that would be absolutely unacceptable in light of the election results and in light of the will of the American people. But make no mistake about it. The courts in the city and the state of New York are at war against Donald Trump. There's no better evidence of that than the latest appeal that came down from the Second Circuit, the federal circuit, upholding the defamation case against him, in which he was awarded, civil damages were awarded to E. Jean Carroll. This is a continuation of this lawfare. The case now in front of Judge Merchan, who has now ruled that there's going to be a sentencing proceeding on January the 10th. It is inconceivable to me that any judge in his right mind would continue with these proceedings.
Judge Juan Merchan has promised that Trump would not see the inside of a cell, as Juan Merchan dreams of seeing just the inside of Freddie Mercury.
Really could not figure out what the Merchan was going to do. He's now decided to sentence a president shortly before he is sworn in. That many of the complications that we've been talking about and potential conflicts with the constitutional standards only arise if you impose a sentence that would hold him physically or demand his appearance, things like home confinement or actual sentence to jail. This would be a case where you would not even normally see a sentence.
Yes, to answer whether that appearance will be in person or virtually by the 5th, that's this Sunday.
The defense emphasized that Trump should be allowed to pursue his appellate options so he can appeal, which would be facilitated by an unconditional charge rather than any form of immediate punishment. So this is like fake punishment or virtual punishment. They want to be able to say that he's guilty.
No actual punishment for it. So should Trump do anything about it?
Well, I mean, I guess he could show up and continue to show what this case was all about in the first place. And that is, it was for a political talking point. This case should have never been brought. It was brought by a partisan prosecutor. If Donald Trump weren't Donald Trump and he weren't running for president, this case would never have been charged with felonies this way. It's complete and total sham. It's a kangaroo court. Of course he's not going to be punished for it.
They're still trying to gum up the election, guys. This is January 10th, in between when the actual vote electors confirmed that he's president and his inauguration. And Alvin Bragg, who realized his case was about as effective as a wet paper towel in a hurricane, has no career. He's embarrassed still. He didn't get what he wanted. This is the end of lawfare. They have nothing to show for it but to publicly disrupt right in the middle of Trump's good January.
It's really a mark on his record, Phil. The judge said he wanted to balance the duties of president with the sanctity of the jury's verdict. So while Trump would face no real punishment for falsifying business records here in New York, the stain of that criminal conviction would remain.
No surprise here, but Trump's legal team has already indicated they plan to ask an appellate court to stop this sentencing. What's the argument?
That could come as soon as Monday, Phil. I expect that the former president's legal team is going to say that Trump cannot be expected to be sentenced while he's about to take office, that it would create undue burdens as he's about to become the leader of the country. We'll see what the appellate court does.
They look resentful. This is another backfire, very similar to the Trump mugshot.
What do you expect the Trump team to do in response to this? Can they appeal it? What happens next?
I don't think they're going to have a lot of luck appealing this. I think the appellate court's going to want to see what he rules. Because if he comes down with a sentence that doesn't bind the president, then a lot of the constitutional problems fade away.
Trump's defense argued that the unprecedented nature of sentencing a president-elect, arguing that it would set a harmful precedent for the American democracy. Trump's team tried to play the immunity card, and Juan Merchan tried to play the autoimmune deficiency card.
Because the only reason they ever did it was so they could try to call him a convicted felon during the election, which they, of course, did. And then the American people soundly rejected this naked partisan politics. If you're watching New York City news right now, you got people being burned on the subway, folks running around with all kinds of violence in their past and not in jail, and the criminal justice system is being used on Donald Trump. Take a hard look at who you're electing. It's Alvin Bragg and this judge.
Hold on right there. Trump just weighed in on this. Actually, his communications director did. This is from Stephen Chung, Trump's official communications director. Statement on the witch hunt. Sentencing by corrupt Merchan. Quote, today's order by the deeply conflicted acting Justice Merchan in the Manhattan DA witch hunt is a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision and other long-standing jurisprudence. This lawless case should have never been brought, and the Constitution demands that it be immediately dismissed. President Trump must be allowed to continue the presidential transition process and to execute the vital duties of the presidency. Unobstructed by the remains of this or any remnants of the witch hunts, there should be no sentencing, and President Trump will continue fighting against these hoaxes until they are all dead. Stephen Chung, Trump communications director, he has now weighed in. We'll keep you posted on what happens with this. In the end, I believe this thing will be appealed. I believe it will be overturned. Still, I'm Doug in Exile, and if you like this video, watch another.